Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host, former mayor of a California beach town and best-selling author, Debbie Peterson. And we're coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks on 26 global audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio, Blog Talk Radio. I'm not going to bore you. The list goes on and on. In fact, we're proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast on FeedSpot out of thousands and #1 caregiver podcast on Player FM of the top. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. Boy, not enough air in my lungs to make that one. Dr. Bob Ramirez, a business professor, author, speaker, and CQ, whatever that means. What does that mean?
Cultural intelligence.
Now, why didn't I know that? He's a thought leader.
Oh, that's good.
After a significant financial loss in 2008, hey, join the club. He dedicated his career to helping others achieve financial security. Through his classes, his books, his speeches, podcast interviews, he shares insights on financial management and building wealth through passive income. Are you a caregiver overwhelmed by financial stress? You're in luck. Discover how to take control of your finances and provide the best care without breaking the bank. So before we get started with Dr. Bob or Dr. Robert, whichever you prefer, I want to take this moment and thank my last week's guest, Rocky Batesell. I think that's how he told me to pronounce it. Rocky Batesell is a native Scranton, Pennsylvania, right up there with Joe Biden. He's the inventor of SnapSlide, a break away from the push and twist pill bottle, and currently serves as the company's chief executive officer. Hey, just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of our other 26 global audio and video platforms I mentioned earlier. All right, enough of that. Bob, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Debbie. It's great to be on, and I so much appreciate all the work that you guys do for caregivers and to support people and give them information and provide them with a wealth of information and talented guests. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Robert. Are you giving us appreciation? I ought to make you president of our fan club.
I'll be there.
The life of a caregiver is often unappreciated, thankless, and unpaid, but I'm sure you know that as well. Anyway, let's get going. I like to ask my guests, first question, just who is Robert Ramirez and why was he placed on this earth?
Wow. Well, I've got a lovely wife and I've got 6 kids, and I was placed on this earth to do what I'm passionate about, and that's to help others. And I'm a professor at a university. And but my passion is helping others through teaching them about financial management, passive income, and that's what I like to do, and that's why I was put here.
Oh, that's a great answer. Where do you teach?
Business courses.
Where's that?
But where? At DeVry University and Keller Graduate School of Management. And now we've gone mainly online, about 85% of our students online, ever since COVID. But the good thing is I get to work from home now, too, half the time.
I know. The Publicity Summit used to actually have to go to New York at the, I think it was the Pennsylvania Hotel, if I'm not mistaken.
And, it was.
Yeah, Pennsylvania 6500. And a historic place, a wonderful place. I wouldn't want to stay there, but they started remodeling the rooms. But now I heard they're closed down and maybe even knocked down. But now it's because of COVID. It's just everything's online now because hey, it's easy and it's cheaper. Why don't we just do this all the time? So I kind of miss going to New York, though, for that. Don't you, Debbie?
I never got to go to New
Never
York
got
for
to
that.
go
I
to
didn't
New York.
start this until during COVID. Yeah. I wish I had.
It's
I'd
a
have
fun
loved
place
to
to
have done
visit.
that.
What's the importance of assessing the patient's financial situation? Because most caregivers, I mean, they either lose their job or they have to quit or laid off because caregiving is a full-time job and they already had a full-time job.
Well, let me start with this little intro to give your audience a little bit more background,
Please do.
because in the next 5 years, 1 in every 5 residents will be of retirement age, right? And so we need more caregivers than ever now.
Yep.
And also in America, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there's 16,000 baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer that retire every day, right? You too? But what's surprisingly is the good news is we're all living longer. There's better medications, biomedical drugs, screenings. We exercise more. We're trying to eat healthier. So we're all living longer, right? And in fact, when they first came out with Social Security, they said that you could start collecting at 66. Well, that was back in 1935. I believe it was Roosevelt when he created the Social Security Act. So you could start collecting Social Security at 66, and they thought they picked that because that's how long people were living at a max. Well, now are we living longer than that? I think we're living 20 years longer than that, right? So people are not prepared. Yeah,
that's why they say that 60 is the new 40 and so on.
that's right. Yeah. So people are just not prepared. We're outliving our retirement, and the sad part here about caregivers is it mainly falls on females, right? Daughters, the oldest daughter, right? It falls on the females.
Or the only daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, or the only daughter, right? In fact, 80% of all caregivers are family members. 80%. That's huge. And are they getting paid for that? No, they're not.
You never get paid working for your parents. Tell me.
No. So they're losing income. Not only that, is we know that women live longer than men. So they're going to end up taking care of these 1 in 5 baby boomers that need more and more medical care. It's going to fall on the female population. They make less, and if they're a caregiver, they're not getting paid for that. So they're having issues with stress, and stress is just going to make them sicker and make it harder for them. So the patient has stress. I have enough money to if something happens. The caregiver has stress as well, and that's not healthy.
So where do the finances come in? Because most caregivers, they might be doing very well, have a nice job. After a while, they realize they can't. They got 2 40-hour jobs, and they're just burned out.
Yeah, I believe most caregivers are working, at least 25 hours to support their parents. I did it for my wife and I. We both were caregivers for my mom and my dad, and it's not just a 8-hour job. It's 24-hour care. So we always had to coordinate. Well, who's going to be home now? And it was always a coordination. Okay, what time are you going to work? What time are you going to work? Someone had to be with them all the time. So it's important. And financial management, before they get sick, and before you get sick, the caregiver, you really have to complete a financial health check. Where are you at? Do you have all your documents in order? Do you know what your budget is? Do you have the full picture of everything that's coming in? All your income coming in, all your expenses going out? What about your debt? And the list goes on and on. Keeping good financial records just becomes really, really important for the caregiver and also the patient. It's hard to help somebody else.
I want to ask you some personal questions because you were the caregiver, right?
Yes.
I want to glean from your caregiver wisdom. So you took care of your father, you said?
My dad and then my mom.
First your dad and then your mom?
Yeah.
And was your mother taking care of your dad at some point before you?
Yeah.
Caregivers become sicker than the ones they're caring for.
Yes.
Often needing a caregiver of their own.
Correct.
So what was the hardest thing for you? I mean, where did you approach burnout, or did you actually burn out? I mean, what was the most stressful thing for you while you were caring for your parents?
Most of the responsibility fell on my wife. Why? Well, she was a nurse. She was already a nurse. So the whole family kind of looked at her, and we lived close by. So she just automatically adopted the role of caregiving. We had 6 kids, so she was still working full time. it was difficult. Sad part is she ended up getting cancer, and it was stage 4 cancer. She's still fighting the cancer, although she's in remission. It's possible that all the stress of working and trying to care was a possibility of one of the reasons why, all the stress on her body, lack of sleep, why she ended up getting sick. And I'm so grateful to my wife for caring for my parents. But I also feel a little guilty because I have to think that because she wasn't caring for herself as much, and it was a lack of sleep, that it possibly could have contributed to her getting cancer.
Yeah. Now, both your parents are deceased now?
Yes.
So you're a free man.
Still have kids, so I'm never a
In a
free man.
sense.
So, how do you handle your money and the budget? You said you lost a lot of money 2008. So did I. Start with that. Start with, your financial story of how, you lost it and how you managed to get things put back together again, despite all of your other duties, caregiving, kids, and so on.
So in 2008, when we had the Great Recession, I was director of IT and information technology for a good-sized company in California. I felt very secure. The company was bought out by another company in another state. I thought, okay, well, I'm one of the directors. They're going to just move me with them, and I will go along with the other company, and they would take some of my staff as well. As it turned out, they didn't take all they did is interview me, take all the technology. They didn't take any of the people. We all got laid off, and so that was mid 2008. And at the time, nobody was hiring anybody as well. So I got burnt out. I also decided to leave IT because, over time I felt guilty myself because I had outsourced a lot of jobs when now it happened to myself. I was the one to get outsourced to lose my job. And but I always felt guilty about that because, back in the 90s, we had products going to, still now, but products being made in China, and we had IT from India and our customer service. We moved to the Philippines, and every time I had to lay people off. So I said, I'm done with IT. I ended up taking a part-time job as a teacher, and that led into a full-time job. And I love it so much better because now I'm helping people and giving back and teaching people. So I decided in 2008 that I would never depend on one single paycheck. Our house, it was a short sale. It wasn't a foreclosure. It was a short sale. We lost it to the bank. And
Tons of people went through that. I'm a real estate broker, and those were terrible years
so you understand
for us too.
It
was awful. Everybody, doctors, and people who were making $300,000 a year. Everybody was losing their houses, all their equity. It was well, and all because of corruption. But it was really disappointing. Yeah, it was hard then for everyone. I lost my house too.
I was in foreclosure myself, and we applied for the loan modification, and it took 18 months to get it finally approved. And somehow the banks, they didn't care. We were in trust deed sale on Christmas Eve.
Oh, boy.
Like 1 week before it was supposed to sell, they finally, you're in loan modification. I've been telling that for 6 months. And it's just we stopped the sale. I eventually did get a good loan, like 1%. Was able to keep my house. But man, it was stressful.
It was, and we had 6 kids, and some of them were already going to college, and it was expensive. So it was tough. It was tough on the kids as well. But so I decided I'll never depend on one paycheck anymore. I'm gonna learn about passive income. And I've done that ever since. I've done well through investing and having real estate and doing other side jobs to bring in money in different ways.
Where did you learn all this from, and what kind of passive income are you receiving?
I own real estate, and I rent out houses. So that's where most of the passive income comes in, but also through books. I've done some speaking engagements, whatever I can to bring in passive income. But secondly, after real estate, it's investments in the stock market. I became a stock market trader. I learned how to trade, and that's something that I could easily do part-time as well. And I loved it, so I became good at it.
This was after 2008, right? That you did all this stuff?
Yeah.
Because we are in a very similar place now. We're in like 2007. before everything hits the fan. And it's easy to buy distressed real estate and flip them after the crash. You go through the rubble. See, I was on the wrong side of it. I was the guy, giving them back to the bank and so on. So what advice would you give people if they want to go into real estate and buy that fixer-upper and try to flip it and stuff? Do you recommend waiting till the crash? I mean, I assume you're expecting a 2008 type of situation with real estate.
And one of the classes I teach is entrepreneurship and business. And a small business is any business that's 500 employees or less. There's no right or wrong time to start a business, right? You can't wait till a crash. Oh, I'm going to start a business now because it's good. You just can't wait. You just, if you have the funds, if you can do it, then you just do it at that time. Right now, interest rates are 6.8%, but remember back in the 80s when I bought my first house, when you probably did too, it was 18.5%. How did we ever afford that? So
along with that kind of inflation too.
Yeah. So 6.8%, given the history
that's traditionally a low rate.
Right. And we know it's going to go down. The rates are supposed to start dropping in September, and we'll see from there. So there's you don't wait. You just you always move forward. You don't stop.
You had some money to invest. And of course, with real estate, it's great. You only put down a little bit, you leverage it. And
that's what I love about real estate.
So you recommend this is a good time for someone to do that now?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, Dave, because you hit on a very key. You can get in as low as 3 to 5%, right, when you buy real estate. You will have to pay a little bit of insurance for that low down payment because you're not putting down the 20 to 25% for a rental house. Houses will appreciate over time 6 to 8%, and you're leveraging that money so that you only put down 3 or 5% of that house, but that. Let's say you bought the house for $500,000. That $500,000 house is appreciating by 6-8%. So it's a good way to really leverage your money. And then when you do it right and you have tenants, guess who's paying the mortgage? The tenants are actually, you're managing that money, you're managing the tenants, but hopefully you can get into a situation where maybe not right away, but it might take realistically a few years.
I'm thinking that their first house is $500,000.
Yeah, but so they are banking your payment as well. My son flips houses, but he couldn't do it in California. It's way too expensive. So during COVID, he lost his job. He's a stunt man and a physical trainer. The movie business shut down. He lost his job. He was running a gym for a big company. So he ended up moving to Tennessee. And then in Tennessee, he started buying real estate that he could get for $80,000, $120,000. He's got 2 teams of people rehabbing the houses, and he's making a really good living. I mean, he does well.
You bring up a good point because if you're in an expensive area like LA or New York, maybe you should consider, moving everybody to a cheaper area. Maybe like South Carolina, Nevada, Oregon. I don't know. And where there's a lower cost of living, and you can pay off the house, pay off your debt. Now you're debt free, and maybe even mortgage free. But now you've got some money to, begin your real estate business. Is that right?
Well, that's right, but you have to be careful with that as well, because when you do leave California, your wages are going to drop as well. So it depends on, if you can work remotely and still work for that California-based company. That works out well. Or if you're retired, it works out well. If you're looking for another job and you think it's going to be equivalent as California wages, then it's not going to work out too well.
So you say you invest in the stock market. Isn't that dangerous? Do you do that first, or do you do that with the funds from real estate? And how do you invest in the stock market so that it's not too risky? I mean, what's your strategy?
Well, for people who are afraid of investing, I give them the same advice that Warren Buffett gave, and he's the wealthiest investor in the world, worth billions of dollars. So he's not like 93 years old right now, I believe. And he said when he passed, and he still works every day, when he passes away, he wants 90% of his money for his wife to go into a trust and just to be in the SPY index. The SPY is the Standard & Poor's 500. and then the other 10% was going to be in bonds. Right now, I think the SPY is, I don't know, 14, 16% in there. I haven't checked it the last couple of days for this year. So at least you're making the market returns. Now, what's the SPY made out of? It's made out of 500 of the best companies in the US. So are you well diversified? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do you have to put any thought into how you did that? No, because you're just buying a low cost index fund, which is the SPY. So anybody can do this. You're not being a day trader where you have to be in front of your computer. You don't have to know anything. You just buy the SPY and you're at least going to get what the market drives. What the market returns are. And those are companies like Tesla and Google and Microsoft and IBM and Facebook. These are some of America's best companies.
So this is your buy and hold strategy.
Well, that's buy and hold, and then every paycheck you get, you just continue to buy more.
Reinvest.
Dollar cost averaging. So if the stock goes down, that's fine because you're buying more, so that means you're buying more stocks. If the stock goes up, good for you.
Debbie's actually a very shrewd investor. You have any questions for our host, or that you want our?
Well, I have to say thank you to our host because he just did my job for me as a real estate broker, because I work a lot with folks who are buying investment real estate and second homes, and at one point sold 22 houses in San Antonio and a couple in Ko'olina in Oahu, because I looked all over the country and I said, where would be the best place to invest in real estate? And my clients agreed with me, and so I guess, well, I'm not asking a question, but I would say that, and you've emphasized this, it depends where you are in many ways, what you do and how you do it. And what's necessary is finding someone who really is a good financial advisor. And those are hard to come by too. Yeah. Or a good real estate broker.
If you do like to trade and you want to be more aggressive and you're buying, let's say, the Magnificent Seven, which are stocks that are performing very well right now for the last couple of years because they're mainly technology stocks. Technology stocks are great because you build the software once and then you expand it throughout the world to the 7 billion people in the world. So technology stocks are good. That's why you see all the companies like the Amazons and the Facebook and the Netflix and the Googles. That's why they're some of the best performing stocks, because it's technology. So you want to look at technology stocks, but then you also, if you want to get aggressive and own some of these stocks, you want to be sure that you put in the stop loss. So let's say you chose the wrong stocks. So then you want to say, okay, if I was wrong, if this stock goes down by, let's say, 8%, then I'm out of this trade. And it'll automatically take you out of that trade. But as long as that stock's going up in value, you stay in that trade. Mm-hmm. What that allows you to do is you can have a lot more losing stocks than winning stocks, but your losses are capped at 8%, and your winnings could be 20, 30, 40%. So if you pick strong companies and you're looking for companies that are always increasing in earnings, that's the key, earnings, revenue, then you're probably going to do well. But you got to have those stop losses, right? So, now, if it goes down too far and you got stopped out of a good company, you can always rebuy it. And it costs zero money to buy a stock.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on retirement in Bitcoin or annuities?
Woohoo. Lots of people like to shy away from that, but I don't. And the reason I don't is
you're an entrepreneur.
Right? Entrepreneurs are the ones who take risk, right?
Risk, high reward, right?
Yes. The greatest entrepreneur right now, from Tesla, Elon Musk, right? Did he take a lot of risk with Tesla and with SpaceX? You bet he did. But that's why he's probably the richest person in the world right now. He took risk. So getting back to your Bitcoin, Ethereum. So year to date, they've made about 60%. Realize the SPY has only made 14, 16%. They're the best performing assets. What happened in January of 2024 is 11 companies made Bitcoin an ETF. An ETF stands for Electronic Traded Fund. very low cost fund. These are the big companies, Fidelity, BlackRock, VanEck, the big major companies. So if they opened up these ETFs, then you got to feel that it's a lot safer because they're in this to make money, right? To get a percentage, and those are the best performing stocks. You don't have to. I don't care what you think about Bitcoin, whether you or not, as long as you're doing well, who cares? But Bitcoin, Ethereum, they have really picking up traction. They're going to be talked about in the election now. Trump has already endorsed it. Kamala Harris is talking to people right now so that she can figure out a way to endorse it. They want to make it a reserve for the U.S. dollar off. They recommend, though, because it is risky, that people only put 2 to 5% in it because it could be risky.
Only invest the money you can afford to lose.
Exactly. But do I have more? I won't tell you.
So a lot of people think that annuities are safe. They're never going to let you down. They'll pay you until you die, basically, even if you run out of money. What's your opinion of that for retirement as a retirement vehicle? Now, it's true they're not protected by inflation, which could be an issue, but should at least some of your money be in fixed annuity, perhaps?
I think for some people, fixed annuities work very well. It'll help them sleep at night because they know exactly what they're going to be receiving for that period of time.
And their nervous system, some people
you have to be able
more than others.
You have to be able to sleep at night. You can't, oh no, what's going to happen tonight? We need our sleep, especially as we get older. You can't be so stressed. So for many people, annuities is a good way for part of your investment. But I think everybody should have their safe investments and their more aggressive investments. And, if you think about it, okay, we got all these people that are, 66 retired, but they're going to live for another 20 years. Most people will say, oh, you got to be very, very safe, put it in bonds and safe investments. You got another 20 years of good years to invest. And as long as you're watching over it carefully, you can be a little bit more aggressive.
We got time for one more question. Is there anything you were hoping we asked and did not?
Everything you've asked is not what I expected. So, I think your questions have been great. You asked me about investments. I'm going to circle back to the caregivers. It's important for the caregivers to not only create a budget and expenses and watch their debt and get out of debt, but maybe to work with somebody. There's some good resources like the Dave Ramsey Group, where they can work with an investor pretty cost effectively and get a lot of free education. So I'm going to suggest that to caregivers that they get on board with that. But all the documentation that, wills and trusts and power of attorneys, that is really important that they have all that stuff. So they have to look at the whole picture. And money coming in, money going out.
Put it all in a place that can be found, right? To get organized.
Yeah, and it's got to be communicated to the rest of the family. And it's got to, open, share that information.
Now, you've written a book that explains all this. What is it?
I wrote a book called Achieving Financial Freedom. And I'm writing a book now called Retirement Crisis in America, for exactly what I told you. We have so many baby boomers that are retiring, and most of them are going to outlive their retirement. Yeah. And so that's the book that will be out by the end of the year. But Achieving Financial Freedom really talks about passive income, how to get out of debt. I talk about the most important accounting reports to look at and how to manage money.
Wherever books are sold, yes? Amazon, Barnes & Noble?
Yes, mainly Amazon.
Well, I can't believe how fast this time has gone. Thank you.
Me too. We could be on for another 1 hour.
Yes.
Debbie, thank you for your input as well. Bob, how can our listeners reach you if they want to find out more?
Feel free to pass them on with my email address, which is my last name, Ramirez, which is spelled Ramirez, .bob gmail.com. You notice I was in IT, so I've got no numbers in my name. It's just my name because I've had it for such a long time. And but LinkedIn is a good place as well. Dr. Robert Ramirez on LinkedIn if they do a search for me. And then my book is on Amazon, Achieving Financial Freedom.
Awesome. Debbie, how can people find out more about what you do?
Amazon. Go to Amazon, Debbie Peterson, the Integrity 101 series. And I've got several books on how to become involved in local government and what happens if you don't pay attention.
Yes, Debbie, I'm gonna check that out.
And I'm at caregiverdave.com. And a reminder, all our live shows become recorded pod and video casts on our platforms mentioned before, like YouTube and Blog Talk Radio, Podbean, many more. Caregiverdave.com is a free membership support community with lots of free gifts, resources. Our Facebook page has 34,000 fans and people who help each other. It's a community. We also have, 1 hour free coaching. You take advantage of that. So please click the like or follow button on whatever platform you're watching or listening this on. It helps us reach even more caregivers by improving Google's search engine algorithms. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And to my listeners, thank you for tuning in every week, making us the #1 caregiver podcast on the internet. And may God richly bless you all. See you next time. Bye-bye.
One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, Overcoming Unbelievable Hardships is about Charlene, a stroke survivor. Back in 1996, Charlene was a healthy, normal, very active 52-year-old woman whose amazing talents resemble that of both a Martha Stewart and a Wonder Woman. But all that changed when she suffered a massive stroke that left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. Who am I? My name is David. I've had the privilege of being Charlene's husband since 1975. We had a wonderful fairy tale storybook-like courtship that culminated in our marriage a year later. Charlene had just come out of a marriage where after 10 years, she received 2 black eyes and a broken nose by her former husband when he came home high on speed. Charlene believed in no second chances of any kind for abuse, so she left. Finding herself all alone in the world with her 5 and 10-year-old daughters Cynthia Lorraine and Deborah Lynn, she started raising them by herself for the next 2 years. Then fate brought us all together. After falling in love with Charlene, Cindy, and Debbie, our love then produced Rebecca Elizabeth. We had a wonderful, normal life for the next 20 years. But today, things are very different for everyone. How about the reaction of 9-time Grammy and Dove Award recipient, the godfather of contemporary gospel Christian music, Andre Crouch? Charlene just won't let the promises of God go, and she has not let her circumstances get in the way of her faith. She's not just a survivor, she's more than a conqueror, as the Bible states. You'll be encouraged by her testimony, regardless of what you're going through. Available everywhere.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.